The following program is produced by the AM First Radio Network and distributed by Global American Broadcasting, the GAB Radio Network.
Thank you for tuning in for this edition of Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali. I am attorney Zulu Ali with the Justice Watch crew, Rosa Nunez, Michael Bilal Clark, Dr. Kil Bashir, and Andrea Rodeman. This week, like every week, we'll be discussing critical legal and social justice issues that are impacting our community. This week, we'll be talking about the mass shootings, and we'll also be talking about gun control. And so I want to begin by discussing, first of all, what is a mass shooting? A mass shooting is any incident in which it used to be 4 or more victims, but however, during the Obama administration, he reduced it to 3 people. So it's an incident in which 3 or more victims are killed with a firearm within a 24-hour period at a public location in the absence of other criminal activity, military conflict, or collective violence. And so that's how we define what a mass shooting is. And so there's been 140 mass public shootings in the United States since 1976, and which amounts to an average of a little more than 3 per year. Right now, I think that we've already have 10 per year. Are we coming on? Are we coming over on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. And so when we're looking at the trend and the incidence and severity of mass shootings over time, then there's always this argument. I mean, I think that it's increasing. I mean, I think that it depends on how you skew the numbers. But my opinion, I think that it's actually increasing, especially in light of the fact that when you look at the average of about 3 per year, and now we're already at 10 right now. So there is an increase in, I believe, in the numbers, but there's also, I believe, a significant increase in the severity for sure. So in other words, now we're seeing, when the trend of mass shootings were a lot less number of individuals, what we're seeing is more people when they're doing these the numbers of individuals. I mean, when you look at the earlier numbers, you would see, somewhere around the neighborhood of maybe 10 or so when you start looking at the earlier numbers, where now it's not unusual to see, anywhere from, and we've seen 10, 15, 20, 30. I mean, there's a lot of casualties that you're getting with these mass shootings. And of course, we continue with this same debate over what should we do about the mass shootings. And you have individuals who, because of their self-interest, I think that we're seeing more, the politics behind, organizations such as the NRA, who is a very powerful lobby and probably has a very powerful membership, and a lot of these senators and congressmen who are being supported by the NRA and who are, being slow to just sign a bill with regards to just what really makes sense when it comes to just a simple thing like who has access to guns and increasing the difficulty of getting access to guns, especially when we're talking about these some of these automatic weapons, right?
Yeah.
And so, so there's issues there, problems there, and things that we're not really, really addressing. And also, I want to talk a little bit about when we look at what's going on over this past in 2022. The first one was February the 19th was the shooting at the park in Portland, Oregon, where there was 1 dead, 5 injured. Now this is at a park. Then you see the one that happened up in Sacramento, where it was downtown. You had 18 people. 6 people were dead, 12 people were injured. Then we're looking at New York City on the subway, where you had 29 injured. You had the issue with the in South Carolina on April the 16th, where you had 14 people that were casualties in that one. The same way in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where it was a party at an Airbnb. You had a total of 15. We had the May Buffalo shooting in Buffalo, New York, where it took place at a supermarket, 13. You had one at the church, May the 15th, in Laguna Woods, California. Then you had Chicago. You had the Magnificent Mile shooting, which was near a McDonald's restaurant, 10 people. You had the elementary school shooting where you had a total of 40 people. And then you had the situation at a clinic in Tulsa, where you had approximately, 15 people. What's interesting about all of these, and when we think about all of these killers, it's kind of like, it's interesting how they choose where they want to do these things, right? And it's always where there are innocent people, right? The most innocent, like a school with elementary school children, supermarkets where there are elderly people,
Right.
Clinics where there are sick people. I mean, these are all places where you have people who are innocent, right? And it shows you kind of like it's kind of like it exemplifies the character of those individuals who are so, forceful in these gun lobbies, right? Because I mean, it's not like, I mean, if you're gonna have a gun and you're gonna go shoot somebody, go somewhere where you're gonna get some smoke.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go to the police. Go to the police department. Go to South Central Los Angeles.
Hood,
Right.
yeah.
Go to the hood if you really want some smoke. But instead, because you're a coward, you're always going to choose those places where you're going to find the most vulnerable people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, and that just shows you the cowardice of these individuals who choose to do that. You mean,
Yeah.
let's step back and talk and not talk so much about the fact of their emotional or their mental aspect, but let's just talk about how weak and meek and evil and these individuals are that go out here and kind of do these things, and the fact that to some of these are they really mental, are they normal? And when I say that, I'm saying it because we live, let's just face the facts. I got into an argument actually with someone earlier this week. They overheard me saying that, what can we do? What's the problem with what's going on? The problem is it's our culture. We have, these people are acting out in a way that is consistent with the culture of our country.
I agree.
When you think about some of the other developed nations that, and the fact that mass shootings is not really a problem, and it's a problem in our country. I mean, let's just go back and we think about what happened when we went to the Capitol, right? When those individuals, went to the Capitol that time, and the way that they acted, and the way that they were just, that's our culture. We tried to act like that was something that was like unique and wouldn't happen, and we're surprised. But we live in a society where that's part of who we are as a people. And then we wonder why we have young people acting out this way. And the only difference between any of these individuals acting out this way, in these mass shootings, is just, if you look at the context in which let me give you an example. I mean, think about, and we've been doing this show, I don't know, has it been 4 or 5 years, right? There's been so many police killings that I can't even remember their names. It's almost like it's just bogged in my head because it was happening so often.
Yeah.
It's like every time you turned around, you saw someone being shot in the back or someone being, and the point that I'm trying to make is that it was only an outrage to some of us. And to many of us, we wasn't even bothered by it. We're desensitized to violence.
Yep.
right? Where you would look at, you say, I cannot believe that he just pulled out a gun and shot this man in the back of the head, or I can't believe he just pulled out a gun and shot this man in his back. You know, it just, you know, for many of us, that is, even though we know that there's been a history of black people being killed, you know, by the police, we're still just taken back by it. But then you have the reason why there's nothing being done about it is the same reason that we're having these mass shootings, because there is something wrong with the culture, and that we do not have this, you know, when you have the president who stands up in front of the nation and he talks about certain things. I mean, it's fine, let's talk about guns, but that's not going to help. Not very much. It's going to help some because it's important, but, you know, the problem is our culture. We're so violent. And, you know, there's an old saying, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Yep. And I'm here to tell you, and I've given a lot of warnings on this show, and I'm here to tell this nation that if we do not change significantly as a nation, we're going to perish. And there is no question about it. And I don't mean that to be dark. No, it's true. I'm just saying that to be true. Yeah. Is that what you're seeing when you're seeing these people go out and killing these young people or elementary school children, you know, like that, right? And what we saw, and the slow reaction that we saw when it came to it.
Great idea for a radio show, but have no idea where to start? Or have you been hosting a podcast for a while and want to take it to the next level? If so, you need the Gab Radio Network. To host a show on the Gab Radio Network, all you need is your voice, and we'll handle the rest. From technical engineering to full-service audio production and much more. Every show on the Gab Radio Network can be heard on our station on the TuneIn Radio app. Plus, we put all of our shows on our satellite, which is accessed by over 5,500 stations. And here's the best part. You can host from anywhere you want. There are many means to connect to the Gab Radio Network remotely, and our staff of highly trained engineers and producers will make you sound like you're right here in studio. So, if you want to be on the Gab Radio Network, the same network that hosts the Small Business Advocate, Radio MD, and the Federalist, send an email right now to sales@gabradionetwork.com. That's sales@gabradionetwork.com.
Nubian Pictures presents a CCM Films production documentary entitled Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. This emotional and strong documentary tells the story of African-American lawyer Zulu Ali seeking justice and his purpose as a lawyer, while crossing paths with Araceli, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who is seeking her freedom. Together, they help discover their purpose and freedom in each other. Watch this incredible film today from iTunes Movies, YouTube Movies, Amazon Prime, and Google Play Movies. Learn about the cast and crew, links to purchase, and more at purposeandfreedommovie.com. Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. Available now. Rated G.
I did not feel safe. That's why I decided to come to California, because I didn't feel safe in Mexico.
It's kind of like the system, and if you go outside the system, then it becomes a struggle.
Are you an immigrant seeking defense representation and are looking to protect your rights? Or maybe someone who is experiencing an injustice or discrimination and need a lawyer you can trust? Well, that's exactly why you need the help of award-winning trial lawyer Zulu Ali. The law offices of Zulu Ali provides immigration defense representation for those seeking justice and looking to protect their rights. If you or a loved one needs professional legal advice and representation, then contact Zulu Ali. Zulu Ali's firm focuses on criminal law, family law, civil and personal injury, and international law. Zulu Ali is a former police officer and U.S. Marine, so you know you're in good hands. Serving all of California and immigration cases nationwide, representing victims and suspects at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Call Zulu Ali today at 888-682-3049 or visit ZuluAliLaw.com.
Welcome back to Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali and the Justice Watch crew, and our discussion on mass shootings and gun control. All right, can you hear me, Rosa?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna go around today and go around and get everybody's input a little bit about what's been. I'm anxious to hear thoughts, right? Because I mean, so I'm going to begin with you. So I want you to kind of chime in on, the introduction and your thoughts on gun control. Not gun control, but mass shootings and gun control.
Yeah. I think that it's definitely an intersectional issue. I think we need a federal baseline to achieve anything in this country when it comes to gun violence. I think that the way that these shootings are also portrayed in the media, and when you talk about culture, that's part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a mass shooting, you hear more about the shooter than the victims themselves. Even when you talk about this shooting in Uvalde, I mean, we didn't even hear about the ICE officer that went in there and stopped and killed Salvador Ramos. So I think that also needs to change. That part of our culture, the way we kind of attach just owning a weapon to being masculine is definitely toxic. I definitely do believe we need much more accessibility to mental health resources in schools.
Yes.
I mean, nearly 70% of shooters were suicidal before or during the shooting, according to a study from the Department of Justice. And I definitely do think that, people don't have to jump through enough hurdles to get a gun. And we need to enact, strengthen universal federal backgrounds. And also realize that, the vast number of shooters are young males in their 18s through 20s. We got to think about just how a lot of their brain is not developed until the age of 25.
Right.
And why are they able to own a gun? So, yeah, I definitely do think that it's an intersectional issue, and there's no one solution. There's a lot of things that we need to do as a country for this to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, what say you, Bilal?
I think we write about as far as the country being the culture of the country being a violent, violence is, it's always been, and it seems like it always will at this point, until we make some type of adjustments or some type of changes. However, when it comes to mental health, I agree that there is mental health issues, but I think that whenever you put a camera on your head and you video record, I think it comes like where you knew exactly what it was that you were actually doing. No matter what you're going through, I think you should be held accountable for your actions and stuff like that. But I think that there definitely has to be a lot of changes. But gun control, I believe that we have that right, but we're going back to, I don't want to go to the gun control, but the mass shootings, I think that there has been way more mass shootings than we're actually talking about as of right now. In fact, they saying that there's estimated over 243 just at this year. And I think that whenever you put it in a certain category, that a certain amount of people has to be killed in order to categorize it as a mass shooting. I don't care if it's 2 people killed and 15 injured, it's still a mass shooting no matter how you look at it. Yeah. And it still has to deal with guns. And I think that we're missing a point, and I think that the public is not seeing all the mass shootings that has happened in this country. And if we really knew how many it was, we're really being a paranoid state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we're getting a little desensitized, though, because it happens so often. And, I go back to the mental health aspect. We need to control the people who are controlling these guns. You gotta start there. It is it's scary how easy it is to get a gun. And I don't know if you've been to Texas, their gun laws are so lax, and especially anything we do in California, they're going to completely do the opposite. So they don't want to have, we've got stricter gun laws than they do in Texas. When you go down there, it literally looks like the Wild Wild West. Like you go in the supermarket and you see literally everybody walking around with holsters and guns, and I seen this guy putting an AR-15 in his trunk. Like, it's scary, and everyone is walking around like that. Now, what the heck you need an AR-15 for? Why you need to walk in the store with your gun? Well, I guess for protection now, but it's scary. I don't think that they're doing enough of analyzing these people, making them go through a mental health assessment to see if we can trust this in your hand. What do you need this gun for? You know, and I think that's really what the problem is. I have no problem with guns. My problem is with the user of these guns.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
So here it says something that Joe gave me. Something that says to sell a taco in Texas, you need to obtain a permit from State Health Services, obtain a county and city permit, obtain a food manager certificate, take a course in food handling and get a certificate, maintain all meat, produce, and approved storage containers at correct temperatures, cook to a specific temperature, use only approved water sources, have insurance, maintain clean surfaces and work environment at all times, be subject to regular and surprise inspections from the health department. However, to buy an assault rifle in Texas, you have to just have an ID, fill out one form, and have cash. Walk out with as many guns and ammo as you want the same day.
Wow.
And that's the truth.
That speaks volumes
That
within
speaks
itself.
volume. And
Wow.
why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Wow.
Well,
You're
I
more
mean,
concerned
again,
with someone getting food
I mean,
poisoning than somebody killing somebody.
It is. I mean, but I think that it goes back into the whole fear of and paranoia of our country. I mean, they have people in this country that are so scared. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's nothing, and we talked about this before. When you do a lot of dirt, right? I mean, you know, I like mafia movies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I study mafia movies. I study all that, and I watch, you know, real criminals. I mean, I have associated with them through my work and a little bit in my backsliding days. But at any rate, you know, people are paranoid.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when I mean, we have a large number of individuals who are paranoid about, you know, what's going to happen. They don't want to give up the guns the same way they don't want to give up the vote. You know,
Yes.
we're you know, when this guy, what was he called it? The Great Replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, the great replacement.
You know, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that's part of it, is that they, you know, it's like everybody, you know, when you get to a certain point by doing dirt, you are very uncomfortable in your spot, right? You stay uncomfortable, and when you're at an uncomfortable place, then you're full of paranoia, and you think these things are real because, you know, there's a you know, we have a conscious, you know, there's an issue about people's consciousness in this country. I mean, think about all this stuff that you did.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's why people feel so strongly about guns, because they realize that if you give up certain things, then I'm going to lose this power that I think I have in this country. You know, are these people, and it goes like everything else, are these people going to do to us what we did to them? They're so scared. And their fear of the retributive psychosis of certain portions of this country is more strong than saving humanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's really where we are. So, and then you got these gun lobbyists, man. I mean, and I mean, it's just our obsessions with guns is questionable, right? I mean, it's just, it just seems like, and then also there's a cause and effect. Sometimes I think, we talk about mental problems, but I do believe that we cause some of this mental problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you can cause someone to be mentally unstable. I mean, we see people who are victims of crimes, or people that you can cause somebody to have some sort of mental problem.
Yeah.
And I think
There's a new nationally syndicated radio program that's sweeping the nation, and you don't want to miss it. Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali, the voice of justice for the people. The focus of Justice Watch is to provide an honest analysis and viable solutions to the criminal and social justice crisis in America and the world from a black, brown, working class, and socially disadvantaged perspective, and to motivate listeners to be informed and part of the solution. Zulu Ali is joined by the Justice Crew, consisting of Rosa Nunez, Michael Clark, Dr. Akil Bashir, and Charito Ali to tackle the most pressing issues. Host Attorney Zulu Ali is a former police officer, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and an award-winning trial lawyer who focuses on representing persons accused of crimes, immigrants, victims of discrimination, and persons seeking civil justice. Find out how to listen to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali at justicewatchradio.com. Nubian Pictures presents a CCM Films production documentary entitled Purpose and Freedom. Keep Your Hand on the Plow. This emotional and strong documentary tells the story of African-American lawyer Zulu Ali seeking justice and his purpose as a lawyer, while crossing paths with Araceli, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who is seeking her freedom. Together, they help discover their purpose and freedom in each other. Watch this incredible film today from iTunes Movies, YouTube Movies, Amazon Prime, and Google Play Movies. Learn about the cast and crew, links to purchase, and more at purposeandfreedommovie.com. Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. Available now. Rated G.
I did not feel safe. That's why I decided to come to California, because I didn't feel safe in Mexico.
It's kind of like the system, and if you go outside the system, then it becomes a struggle.
Are you an immigrant seeking defense representation and are looking to protect your rights? Or maybe someone who is experiencing an injustice or discrimination and need a lawyer you can trust? Well, that's exactly why you need the help of award-winning trial lawyer Zulu Ali. The law offices of Zulu Ali provides immigration defense representation for those seeking justice and looking to protect their rights. If you or a loved one needs professional legal advice and representation, then contact Zulu Ali. Zulu Ali's firm focuses on criminal law, family law, civil and personal injury, and international law. Zulu Ali is a former police officer and U.S. Marine, so you know you're in good hands, serving all of California and immigration cases nationwide, representing victims and suspects at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Call Zulu Ali today at 888-682-3049 or visit ZuluAliLaw.com.
Welcome back to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali with the Justice Watch crew, where we're continuing with our discussion on mass shootings and gun control. So there's a question, and I want to pose, and I'm going to let you answer this question, Bilal. The question is, so how come the cities with the strictest gun laws have the most gun violence? And I'm going to ask you the question because I think that basically we're one of the things that, go ahead and answer, and then I'll tell you. And the only reason I'm asking you the question because I thought that maybe what you said at the break.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the different states, like you said, the ones with the most the gun violence, like Chicago, California, New York. Those are primarily where actually the gangs are at, And you say where are all of these guns coming from, and how are they getting all of these guns to cause all of this mass, whatever this carnage is. The thing about it is, it's basically a place where all the gangs are located at. So the guns are basically open. I mean, we've heard stories about guns and crates of guns being found in alleys and different things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's predominantly areas where African Americans reside at. Mm-hmm. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but the reality speaks for itself. The most gun violence comes from those states, basically Chicago, New York, and California, where the gangs are located. You're not going to find those states to be open carry states, such as like you have in Nashville and Texas.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I think I know that they're saying that Chicago, that some of these states, that they're supposed to be a lot stricter to get guns in those supposedly. But anyway, so this is kind of how I want to answer that question, kind of in a backwards way. Mm-hmm. Is that I want to go back to the whole discussion about policy and culture. right? We keep saying that, and I think that that's a critical issue when it comes to what's happening in our country. Let's just assume that restricting guns, especially automatic weapons, reduce the use of those weapons the mass shootings relative to those weapons, a very small percentage.
Okay.
Let's assume that is true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that anybody in their right mind, considering that what has been happening in our country, would oppose that, right? I don't think that let's just assume it is very minimal. I mean, very, very minimal. What's the argument? Is that really an argument? Would I say, you know what, man, I don't think that we should have stricter gun laws because I don't think it's going to change that much because, you're using these examples. But I think that when you talk about culture and policy, the numbers are not as important as, the policy, the culture, the attitude. And so what happens is that if it doesn't do anything other than change the manner in which we're dealing with these situations in our country, then isn't it worth it? Because you have to do that. You can't, on one hand, try to create a culture where you're trying to, because that's what we do laws for. Laws are not to punish people, supposedly. You make laws to deter people.
Exactly.
So if we understand the significance of making laws let's just say, for example, the 3 strikes law. Well, the 3 strikes law hasn't done nothing to lower the number of violent crimes. So why don't we get rid of the 3 strikes law? We have an increasing number of a prison population. The numbers of people going to prison is skyrocketing, even with more laws. Well, why don't we just get rid of the laws because it's not doing anything about it, right? I mean, none of that really makes any sense.
Right.
But the whole point about trying to do certain things is doing everything that you possibly can.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that when you're arguing again, I mean, first of all, let's just be honest. I mean, the only reason you want an automatic weapon is because somebody else has an automatic weapon, I guess. Because there's no, I'm an old country boy. I come from the country where you deer hunt, you rabbit hunt, you do all kinds of things. So I don't really have no issue with gun, people. But look, when people have fully automatic weapons, there's no reason that an 18-year-old can go in the store and buy a fully automatic weapon, and you're arguing about that. In most states, an 18-year-old can't even drink alcohol.
Yeah.
But you're giving him a gun.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, the point is, what it does is it exposes, the argument exposes the flaws in our society. If it does nothing more than expose who you really are, then, you have to think about that.
Yeah.
So in my mind, when someone comes to me, because I'm not against the Second Amendment or the right to bear arms, because, if you come up in my spot, you're going to get smoked. Right? That's my attitude. So you know how I feel about guns.
Correct.
But at the same time, I'm also I'm a human being and I'm concerned about humanity and my grandchildren. And knowing that, if they go, I want them to feel safe when they go to school. I never thought about going to school and getting blasted when I was a kid.
Right.
And now you're worried about kids. You can't go to the mall. You're scared to go to the theater. You're scared to go almost anywhere nowadays. And is changing the gun laws or making strict gun laws going to make all of that go away? Probably not.
No.
But that's not the point. The point is we have a problem in this country about a bigger problem because of a culture and our policies, and we have politicians in Washington that don't care anything about regular people. They care more about getting reelected. They care more about gun lobbyists. They don't care nothing about nobody except getting reelected.
Yeah.
So what it does is it exposes a lot of things. What I want is politicians that are going to do everything that they possibly can to protect you.
Exactly.
Right? There's a lot of things that's unlikely to happen. right? But that doesn't, or you may say, well, if you do certain things, then it's unlikely that it's going to change. It's just like your child, you know. There's a lot of things that a child may do that you may expose a child to that could cause him to have harm to himself, right? But maybe the statistics show that it's unlikely. But you're going to do everything you can to protect your child,
Right.
Yeah.
even if it may or may not, regardless of the percentage of it helping, right? That's my argument against the whole guns aren't going to really restrict the gun laws is going to really change anything. I mean, that's ridiculous to me. What you say about that,
Yeah.
Rosa?
I think, like I told you, I agree with you. I think it's an intersectional issue that deserves intersectional solutions. I think that in this country, the culture where, I mean, a gun is more readily accessible in a can of formula nowadays. You know, how is that?
Or
is
a
that
taco.
Contributing,
Yeah.
or a taco? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in a country where 7,957 and teens are shot every year, where 2.5 million children go homeless every year, where, 6 million children live in poverty, I think we're definitely perpetrating a culture where we're letting our youth and our children down. Like, what's happening? We allow them to get a gun, but we can't even feed them. We can't even provide them with housing. Like, how is that? Like, why?
Yeah. It's the thing about it is, like you say, I don't think the gun laws is going to change just about too much of anything at all. It's changing the culture, but I think that, I mean, how do we change culture? And then that comes the next question: how we change it? Are we going to end up? Are we going to end up back like the Wild Wild West, where everybody is going to be carrying a gun, trying to protect themselves from the next person? We already seeing where they trying to put guns inside the school and arm the school teachers. Honestly, I'm all for that. To believe it or not, I'm all for arming the teachers because I think that they should have the right to protect their students if someone coming through that door. They should have. And in some states, they already enacted it, and there are some states that basically trying to pass laws to have teachers to carry. I think, that's a viable option, especially when it comes to protecting our youth.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about changing culture because I think that this is where we are. I mean, the writing is really, on the wall, and I think that there are certain individuals I don't think they really care whether there's a demise or not when it comes to our country. The reality of it is, I mean, I think that sometimes when we speak a lot of times on who we want to be as opposed to who we really are. I mean, we live in a society where from the very beginning, when we say things about, where are we headed? What are we doing? When are we never been there. It was the ideals of living in a society that at least made us have hope. And they've been very good at leaving us with this idea of hope for a very long time.
Yeah.
You look forward, you think that you look in the past and you think about all of the things and all of the bloodshed and all of the things that people had done up until this point to get us to this point in our society where we believe that, the ideals of our society. And so we've never really been there. But right now what's happening is that we're losing hope. You know what I mean? I mean, and then when you have a society where people have lost hope, then basically you have because that's what America is. America is a country of hope.
Yeah.
And that's why people are attracted to it. In light of all the terrible things that this country has done, there was always this belief that there's hope that we're going to be better as a nation, that you're going to make your life better, things are going to get better. But I think that now, more than ever, the real change is that we're beginning to start losing hope and losing faith in everything.
Yeah.
Because we're being exposed in a way that we wasn't exposed before.
Yeah.
But at any rate, please do not touch that dial. We'll be back on the other side of the break with Justice Watch.
There's a new nationally syndicated radio program that's sweeping the nation, and you don't want to miss it. Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali, the voice of justice for the people. The focus of Justice Watch is to provide an honest analysis and viable solutions to the criminal and social justice crisis in America and the world from a black, brown, working class, and socially disadvantaged perspective, and to motivate listeners to be informed and part of the solution. Zulu Ali is joined by the Justice Crew, consisting of Rosa Nunez, Michael Clark, Dr. Akil Bashir, and Charito Ali to tackle the most pressing issues. Host Attorney Zulu Ali is a former police officer, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and an award-winning trial lawyer who focuses on representing persons accused of crimes, immigrants, victims of discrimination, and persons seeking civil justice. Find out how to listen to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali at justicewatchradio.com. Nubian Pictures presents a CCM Films production documentary entitled Purpose and Freedom. Keep Your Hand on the Plow. This emotional and strong documentary tells the story of African-American lawyer Zulu Ali seeking justice and his purpose as a lawyer, while crossing paths with Araceli, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who is seeking her freedom. Together, they help discover their purpose and freedom in each other. Watch this incredible film today from iTunes Movies, YouTube Movies, Amazon Prime, and Google Play Movies. Learn about the cast and crew, links to purchase, and more at purposeandfreedommovie.com. Purpose and Freedom. Keep your hand on the plow. Available now. Rated G.
I did not feel safe. That's why I decided to come to California, because I didn't feel safe in Mexico.
It's kind of like the system, and if you go outside the system, then it becomes a struggle.
Are you an immigrant seeking defense representation and are looking to protect your rights? Or maybe someone who is experiencing an injustice or discrimination and need a lawyer you can trust? Well, that's exactly why you need the help of award-winning trial lawyer Zulu Ali. The law offices of Zulu Ali provides immigration defense representation for those seeking justice and looking to protect their rights. If you or a loved one needs professional legal advice and representation, then contact Zulu Ali. Zulu Ali's firm focuses on criminal law, family law, civil and personal injury, and international law. Zulu Ali is a former police officer and U.S. Marine, so you know you're in good hands, serving all of California and immigration cases nationwide, representing victims and suspects at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Call Zulu Ali today at 888-682-3049 or visit ZuluAliLaw.com.
Welcome back to Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali and the Justice Watch crew, where we're continuing on our discussion on mass shootings and gun control. So I'm going to go to you real quick, Andrea, because I want you to I didn't get to you when we were talking about our last comments on the last segment. So where's your head at on this?
You know what? What was the last comment? I done forgot. Because when you start talking during the break, it throws me off.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
What was the last comment?
Look, he don't remember either.
I do remember.
Come on, man. You know how brain cells work.
We get to going on the break, so,
Yeah.
you know, that's...
So, I think basically what we were talking about before we went to the break is I think we were having a discussion a little bit about the culture.
Yeah.
And basically how, Bilal's last question to me was, how do we change, culture?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
And so, my thing is that, and I said that, we're going to have to have a cultural shift, in our society. We're changing as a society every day. The demographics of the country is changing every day. And so, that's kind of where we are. And I think that, but at the same time, we're seeing very little change when it comes to how we relate to people or relate to each other as a society. I think that, on one hand, I feel like, we're in many different ways we're getting worse. Obviously, when it comes to our violence, because clearly we're seeing the numbers of these prison populations that are increasing. And the point that I was trying to make earlier when it comes to the whole idea of this whole great replacement ideology, where you have a large segment of our society that feels paranoid and are in survival mode.
Yeah.
And that's really what allowed President Trump to become the president of the United States.
Yeah.
You know, he was right when he said that let's make America great again. That goes to the whole idea of where we're headed. You know, people didn't like us. There's some people don't. You know, there's a cultural war in this country, and the cultural war is about, you know, moving towards a society that's going to be more fair, equal, and just. And then you have other individuals that don't want to move because a fair, equal, and just society may have an impact on their perceived privilege in this country.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and all these things such as abortion, gun control, these are all code words.
Yeah.
They really don't. In substance, it really don't matter. When the argument begins with no objective analysis of either side. It's just that, okay, I'm going to begin, because I'm not going to move because I've taken a position, right? And you know what's funny about our society is it's almost like we live in a society that, you know, we're like a big gang. America's like a big gang. I mean, you know, and we talked about this before we ever seen the gangs of New York, where they talked about how all those European immigrant countries came in. I mean, immigrant people came into the country and they had their little different gangs. You know, we have Vice Lords, Bloods, Crips, Latin Kings, Republicans, Democrats. It's the same thing, and that's how they. And it's like when you listen to the arguments, they're like you know, you have two different sets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're arguing with each other not because it is a situation. It's like someone arguing about abortion. They have no idea about it. They've never really did any research. They're probably not even thought much about it. All they know is that abortion is seen as anti-abortion is seen as a Republican conservative ideology, and that's all they see, right? The same thing with gun control. I mean, they see the gun control as, you know, they're thinking, well, they're taking away something from us. When they were arguing about the Confederate generals when they were taking those statues down, right? Then what did he say? He said, Trump said, what are they going to take down next? Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, you know. So the fear is they're losing culture, you know. So and we're losing everything that we built, and this is a country that, at least in some people, this was a country that was made for Europeans who came to this country. That's their mindset, and for a large number of people. And everything that you're doing that changes, that looks like it's being fair to that's moving the country as a whole together, is a threat to that. How could you start tripping like that? We're fighting over statues. Why is it that we're fighting over the statue of Robert E. Lee? Why are we fighting over that?
Right.
We're fighting. What does it mean to you when you say that's my culture? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same thing when we're talking about you got all these kids, and Rosa was talking about the fact that you got all these kids that were killed in this elementary school shooting, but we're not even talking about kids getting shot in school.
Yeah.
This has become an argument over did the police, respond properly, which they didn't. Did the, about the gun situation. It becomes everything except the bare basic situation. Everybody should be united on this. Whatever it takes to protect our most vulnerable people,
Absolutely.
we're going to do whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
If you're sitting up on, and so what we have is we have cowards in political positions who don't care about anything except appeasing, the people who are putting money in their pockets and people who are who are going to help them get reelected. No matter who elects you, you do not serve the people who elects you. Once
That's
you
right.
get elected, you are committed to everybody.
That's right.
If you can't say, well, I'm here and I'm going to look after the Republicans, or I'm here and I'm going to look after the Democrats. I'm here to look after the people of this country, and whatever it takes for me to protect you and do whatever in the best interest, that's what I'm going to do.
That's right.
But we have a government that's completely divided.
Yeah.
And they're divided over the most fundamental things in this country, and that is the protection of its citizens and what's in the best interest of everybody. But instead, this is just a great example of, you're not going to sign a bill that says the most basic fundamental things about people purchasing, fully automatic weapons.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Right.
But then you're going to vote to go in and take over Saudi Arabia when you thought that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he should. You like weapons so much. Let him have them.
Yeah.
Can't he have them? You know what I mean? Since it's amazing how, you know what I'm saying? I mean, how we get bipolar when it comes to stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't want to hear that anymore. We're always telling everybody else what kind of weapons they can have, right? Let them have them.
Yeah. We can't control our own.
Right.
Yeah.
But at any rate,
There's a new nationally syndicated radio program that's sweeping the nation, and you don't want to miss it. Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali, the voice of justice for the people. The focus of Justice Watch is to provide an honest analysis and viable solutions to the criminal and social justice crisis in America and the world from a black, brown, working class, and socially disadvantaged perspective, and to motivate listeners to be informed and part of the solution. Zulu Ali is joined by the Justice Crew, consisting of Rosa Nunez, Michael Clark, Dr. Akil Bashir, and Charito Ali to tackle the most pressing issues. Host attorney Zulu Ali is a former police officer, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and an award-winning trial lawyer who focuses on representing persons accused of crimes, immigrants, victims of discrimination, and persons seeking civil justice. Find out how to listen to Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali at justicewatchradio.com.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM. KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
KCAA Radio has openings for 1-hour talk shows. If you want to host a radio show, now is the time.